Now, listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth right now.
Ooh.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it.
Hit it.
It's time for Max World. And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody. Showtime.
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
7 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 21st day of September in the Lord's year 2016. Jesus' third millennium. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Max World Live as we are live here on 99.3 The Truth. Tamara Scott is in the house. Tom Coates is on the phone. And, of course, Frank the Verse and Bob Monster the Cat in the Hat in the house also. If you've got a question, we've got answers. Ralph Reed, who is the head of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, kind of used to be known as the Christian Coalition. He'll be in town. Wait, is that right? Will Ralph be here?
Well, we hope he's going to be here, but he has a lot of things on his schedule, and he may not be able to get out of another meeting.
Okay, well, we're lucky to have him here. The big event is Saturday, dinner from 4:30 to 6:30, and then the program begins. It's at the Paul Knapp Center out at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. Tickets are only $50, but you got to reserve them because we're going to have tons of food for you, and we don't want to run out. You don't want to be the guy that's last in line and there's no more chicken or beef or pork or whatever it is. So here's the number, 225-1515. 225-1515 to reserve your tickets. We will update you as the day goes along. Tom Coates is in the house. He's on the phone today. Hi, Tom. How are you? Tom, are you there? All right, we've got a phone situation there. We'll work on it, but I know Ralph Reed is on the phone with us. Mr. Reed, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? Good to be with you.
Good. Thank you very much for being here. What's the number one thing we need to worry about in America right now when it comes to the Faith and Freedom Council? Or the Faith and Freedom Foundation, excuse me.
Well, Faith and Freedom Coalition, but that's okay. I mean, as long as you get Faith and Freedom, you're fine.
All right. Most embarrassing.
No worries at all. You know, I don't know that it's any one thing. I think that we are facing an existential threat in terms of radical Islamic terrorism. Fortunately, coalition forces, along with U.S. assistance and support, are beginning to move ISIS out of the strongholds in Iraq. But until recently, they've had a caliphate that stretched from just outside Aleppo all the way to the outskirts and the suburbs of Baghdad, something that we haven't seen in our lifetimes. And I think in terms of domestic policy, beyond the need to get this economy moving again and create jobs, this is the first time in over a century that we have had a presidential election that was taking place at a moment when we had an evenly divided court, a 4-4 court, with a Supreme Court vacancy at the time of the election. It is not an exaggeration to say that when the people of Iowa and this country go to the polls in 48 days, many, by the way, already beginning to vote early and by mail.
Yeah, in Iowa, we've got open not registration, but open voting for a couple months now, I think.
Yeah,
we just started.
And it's not only going to decide the future of who controls the White House. More than likely, whoever wins the White House is also going to control the Senate. That's just the reality of these battleground states. And finally, whoever wins is going to be able to appoint Antonin Scalia's replacement and control the court for the rest of their term, maybe 2 terms in office, and maybe for decades and a generation. So I really can't remember, other than 1980, an election when this much was on the line.
Yeah, there does seem to be more than anything. I'm 57 years old, Ralph, and it seems like we've always got the greatest election we've ever had to face coming up. We hear that every 4 years or every 8 years. But you're exactly right. We've got an opportunity to replace and put in Supreme Court justices that may be around to serve my great-great-grandchildren in 40 or 50 years. So you're right. This is a big deal this fall, isn't it?
And in that battleground nationally, Iowa is at the center of this because Iowa right now is basically tied with a little bit of a slight Trump lead, maybe a point or two. And if you look at the map, if you give Donald Trump every state that Mitt Romney carried, which unfortunately was not a lot, the only battleground state that Mitt Romney carried outside of the solid Republican states was North Carolina. And then you give him the states where he's leading today, which are Ohio, Florida, Iowa, Nevada. That gets him to 265 electoral votes. Then when you give him the electoral vote for the congressional district that he leads in Maine, because Maine awards their electoral votes by congressional district, that gets him to 266. He's 4 votes away today if the election were held today. So Iowa is a critical part of that. The last time a Republican carried Iowa, as you guys know, was George W. Bush in 2004 after narrowly losing it in 2000. So, it feels like every 2 years we're back in Iowa and telling the voters of Iowa how critical they are, but whether it's the marriage issue or the court issue or the life issue, on issue after issue, Iowa is really at the very epicenter of this battle for the future of our country.
Ralph Reed, he is the head of the Faith and Freedom Coalition. They have their big one of their big annual banquets coming up this Saturday night. 4:30 starts dinner. Program starts at 6:30. It's at the Paul Knapp Center. Don't get confused with the Knapp Center down over by Drake. This is Uncle Bill's brother, Paul Knapp, and his center at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. Reservations are required. They're $50 a ticket if you want to get your ticket. It's 225-1515. Ralph, when we come down to the Trump and Hillary race, it seems to me from the peanut section where I get to sit and watch, is that Hillary Clinton, and I'm not just trying to take a stab at her, but it just seems like she can't do anything right in the eyes of the conservatives or the Republicans. Why is it that she's still so broadly seen as Mrs. Clean when it seems like everything she does is either illegal, immoral, or unethical?
Yeah, I'm not sure she really is. I mean, if you look at the polling, 2/3 of the American people, including, by the way, half of all Democrats, say that they don't trust her and they don't consider her to be honest. And Peggy Noonan had a good op-ed in the Wall Street Journal over this past weekend, where she talked about the very first Clinton scandal after they went into the White House, which was the firing of the travel office staff who were basically civil servants, and an attempt to replace them with Clinton cronies after making false and baseless allegations against those employees, and beginning with that scandal, running through to Whitewater and on through to the failure of Hillary Care, and now the Clinton Foundation cash scandals and the email scandals, which are really misnamed. Those aren't even her emails. Those are legally federal records, which she was charged as a matter of a federal crime in violation for failing to keep those records and to safeguard them. Lying about the fact that she sent and received classified emails. And this is why this health scare that she had in the last week or 10 days, it is such a problem for her, because it isn't just her health, it's the stealth, as David Axelrod said. It's the fact that she prevaricates and she lies and she deceives and she misleads. And it's one of the reasons why, by the way, why she's doing so poorly among young people. There was I think it was a Quinnipiac survey that came out this week that said that she was only winning right now 35% of the youth vote. And I think Gary Johnson was at 31 or 2, and Donald Trump was at 26. I mean, Obama won 70% of millennials. And the reason why is because they value authenticity and transparency, and she represents the opposite. So I think she's got it's why this race is so competitive and so hard fought.
Hey, Ralph, I was wondering, you said something about, did you say they were tied in Iowa? I heard a recent Monmouth University poll saying that Trump was up potentially 8 in Iowa.
Yeah, that is a survey that has recently come out. I thought it was 7, but it might have been 8. But I think if you take the Real Clear Politics average, I think it's the Trump lead is 2 or 3 points. But Trump is clearly leading in Iowa. He's clearly leading in Ohio. He's leading in Florida, leading very narrowly in Nevada, and effectively tied in North Carolina. So, look, I stayed neutral in the primaries, and if I had to guess, I'm speculating because we never did a straw poll or anything, but I'd guess most of our members in Iowa, meaning a plurality, probably voted for Ted Cruz.
Right.
But I think if you look at where evangelicals are today, the Pew Research Organization has found that 78% of self-identified evangelicals are voting for Donald Trump, only 17% for Hillary Clinton. Folks, that's the same margin that George W. Bush got in 2004. So people of faith recognizing what at stake, the life issue, funding for Planned Parenthood. By the way, Hillary Clinton being the first nominee of either party since Roe to call for the repeal of the Hyde Amendment, which prevents us from being forced to pay for abortions with our tax dollars, and the Supreme Court vacancy I mentioned earlier, plus hundreds of other federal court nominations. The conservative people of faith, both Roman Catholic and evangelical in Iowa, know what's on the line, and they don't want Hillary Clinton to be making those decisions.
Ralph Reed, you hang on. We'll be back live here in Max World on 99.3 The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. 21 minutes after 4 o'clock, 4:21 on the 21st day of September. Tomorrow, fall begins. The fall equinox. Let's go live to the phones where Tom Coates is standing by along with Tamara Scott in studio and Ralph Reed, the head of the Faith and Freedom Coalition. They're getting together this coming Saturday at the Paul Knapp Center in Iowa, or on the Iowa State Fairgrounds. Dinner starts 4:30, the program at 6:30. Tickets are only $50 a piece. Reservations required. 225-1515. Tom, can I hear you?
Can you hear me, Mac? That is a question.
I can hear you. Thank you for being here. Ralph, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Tamara, can you? Oh, you're sitting right here. Okay. Tom, you didn't get in on the first segment. Any questions you have for Mr. Reed, please?
I do. Ralph, it's Tom Coates. Good to talk to you again. Looking forward. Hopefully you can get in here for the big banquet. Should be a well-attended event. We'll probably even have some malcontents out front with signs, so you can look forward to that as well. My question right now is, the cornerstone for Donald Trump's campaign initially was the issue of immigration, both illegal coming across our borders and the refugees that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton seem intent on increasing. We had that brought back to the forefront to us this weekend. The numbers that I've seen show that it cost, in 5 years, for every refugee Barack Obama brings in from these Muslim countries, it costs $64,000 to bring in a refugee. I've seen polls that show that over 80% of Muslims coming to this country want to live under Sharia law, and 20% of those polled say they believe that it's legitimate to use violence to achieve the arrival of Sharia law. Why in the world would the average American want to see increased numbers of these people coming in?
Well, we obviously don't. And you know, throughout American history, we have historically required people, as they entered this country, to swear fealty to the American ideas of freedom and democracy, of respect for the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and to learn English and become a part of our country. And if they indicated that they believed in those democratic principles and those freedoms, we have welcomed them with open arms. There has never been a nation that has been more welcoming of strangers from all over the world yearning to be free. But I think we've got to get back to that principle. And I think that whether or not you're looking at the radical couple in San Bernardino who clearly were radicalized on social media and who were communicating with foreign terrorist networks on social media. You look at the guy in New Jersey who apparently traveled to Pakistan, I believe, at one point for a year or two, and we don't know. We'll have to wait for the investigation. We simply can't have this. Now, having said that, I think that the devil will be in the details. There are hundreds of thousands of Christians and Jews in Iraq, in Syria, and in other parts of the Middle East where Christian communities and Jewish communities are being systematically liquidated. Many of them have fled to Jordan. Many of them have fled to Lebanon. And they want to come to the United States and be able to practice their faith. So I hope we can find a way to welcome those Christians and Jews that are being persecuted and harassed and in many cases killed by the jihadi.
So the irony is, Ralph, that almost none of the ones that Obama's brought in have been Christian or Jewish. Nearly 100% have been Muslim.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I mean, I've heard it's been under 1% are Christian. And I know for a fact, because I've been on phone calls with Christian humanitarian organizations over there that have literally had to flee for their lives because of the Civil War and the bloodshed. And let me, if I can, real quickly, just add my voice to the very generous plug you've already been giving for the annual Fall Family Banquet of the Iowa Faith and Freedom Coalition, which is going to be this Saturday. We've got Governor Mike Pence, the Republican nominee for vice president, coming, former presidential candidate Steve Forbes, former presidential candidate Michelle Bachmann, Senator Joni Ernst, Governor Terry Branstad. It's going to be a heck of a lineup, and I hope everybody will come. Iowa, as I said, is in the eye of the storm in this election, as you are in so many others. And Iowa plays a cherished role in the selection of our presidents, and not just in the caucuses, but clearly now in the general. So I hope everybody will get out there, and we're going to have a great event.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Mac, let me real quick, I think, correct you. I think the check-in, the doors open at 4, dinner runs from 4:30 to 6, and the program starts at 6. That's what I show on my records here.
Yeah, just be out at the fair before the chickens crow and you're good.
And by the way, the food is good, so get there early or it'll be gone.
Hey, Ralph, on Monday, this story we talked about it on air on Monday, and I made the suggestion that probably in the days to come, we will find out that this Khan Rahami was likely under investigation by the FBI, and we found out that apparently the father, much like the underwear bomber and several others, had turned the son in as being radicalized, potentially after this trip back to wherever he had went to. What's going on in this country because it's not an accident they paint this narrative. We just need to stop the terrorists from getting guns. So they're self-admitting we know who these people are. And rather than to detain or deport them, put them under some extreme investigation, we just need to stop them from getting guns. Is that just the most heretical thing you've ever heard?
Well, I don't think the American people are buying it. I mean, if what you're saying is true, and that's the first I've heard that, I'm not saying it isn't, but I definitely want to see it as the investigation and the public revelations unfold in the days and weeks to come. But if that's the case, then that's the second major terrorist attack in really just a matter of months. I mean, you probably remember that the terrorist who went in and did the slaughter at the Orlando nightclub had also been interviewed by the FBI and was seen by a lot of people as making a lot of radical statements. And I think we're going to have to be more vigilant. And candidly, I think we're going to have to change the approach that this administration has pursued of kind of treating this with kids' gloves and treating every one of these episodes as a lone wolf and not part of a larger pattern. Look, ISIS has changed the game. Al-Qaeda's vision was to go around the globe and undertake and build architecture and infrastructure for major catastrophic terrorist attacks that required well-trained cells that worked for years before they struck. What ISIS has done is sort of inverted that model. They're online on websites and social media, and they've sort of blown the trumpet and told anybody who shares their hate-filled ideology to just undertake attacks on their own. And so, if you just call these isolated episodes and lone wolves, you're not getting the fact that they're radicalizing potentially millions of people, any one of whom could strike anywhere in the world, including in our own country, at any time.
Ralph Reed is our guest on the phone today. Ralph is the founder and head of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, formerly known as the Christian Coalition. He will be in town, hopefully, this Saturday, but if not him, we're going to have Vice Presidential candidate Mike Pence, Steve Forbes, Joni Ernst, Governor Branstad, many more.
Michelle Bachmann.
And they're going to be here, doors opening at 4 o'clock.
And Tamara Scott.
That's right.
Are you going to speak?
I think I get to do a small part. Yes, I think I get to. Yes, I will.
And, of course, you can hear Tamara Scott every Sunday here at noon for Truth of Our Time and her radio program here. Doors open at 4 o'clock. You better get there early because Tom will be like the first in line Tom Coates will probably spend the night out there in a little pup tent from high school Boy Scouts.
I'll be tended up with Ed Fallon.
Oh, gee, Minnie. Anyway, it's at the Paul Knapp Center at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. Tickets $50. Reservation, you got to have them because we got to know how much food to provide. So 515-225-1515. Hey, what do you, Ralph, let me ask you kind of an odd question. Not that you probably don't ever get any odd questions, but what do you think will be the biggest difference in Donald J. Trump and President Donald J. Trump?
Well, it's hard to say, honestly, because you don't know. There's no way to know what he is going to confront once he occupies that office. You know, I had the privilege and honor of being part of George W. Bush's political team from the beginning, going back really to late 98, early 99, when he ran for president. And, you know, he ran on education reform and tax cuts and growing the economy and restoring a culture of civility and decency and honor in our country. And none of us knew that he would become a wartime commander-in-chief. But I will say this. I think that if you look at the way Donald Trump has stood up to the liberal media, I think if you look at the way he's been able to call Islamic terrorism what it is, you know, for all the talk about the fact that he's an alleged narcissist and he's self-absorbed and he doesn't study the issues and, you know, the alleged midnight tweeting and all that, you know, what I want in a leader is somebody who has good instincts and good judgment. And this is somebody who said from the beginning that the Iran nuclear deal that Hillary Clinton began the negotiations for was the worst deal ever negotiated by the United States. He's the one who said we have to secure our border when no one else had the guts to make that an issue because they knew they'd come under withering assault. He's the one who released a list of 11 potential judges from whom he would choose a Supreme Court justice should he have that opportunity, the first nominee of either party to lay his cards on the table and says, these are the kind of people I'm going to pick from. So I know that there's a lot of people denigrating him and claiming that he's not up to the job. But, you know, look, this is my 10th presidential campaign. I've known presidents and worked with presidents. And I think he has it in him. He has the raw material to be a great leader for our country if he has the right policy instincts, which I think he does, and if he's surrounded with the right people.
All right, Ralph, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us here. As much as I'd like to talk to you much longer, I know you have a limited schedule, and giving us a half hour here this afternoon has been mighty generous of you, my brother, and I thank you. Ralph Reed, hopefully he'll be here. If not, his Faith and Freedom Coalition will be highly represented by people like Steve Forbes, Michelle Bachmann, Mike Pence, Governor Terry Branstad, Joni Ernst, Tamara Scott, and more. That'll be this Saturday, 4 o'clock, doors open, food a little later. The program starts at 6:30 at the Paul Knapp Center at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. $50 are the tickets. Reservations are required. Please call 225-1515 to get your tickets. Mr. Reed, God bless you for all the work you do. I've been watching you for years, and I definitely appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time to be on the radio program for my audience today in Mac's World.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all you do on the radio and in the in the court of public opinion. And thanks to all my good friends in Iowa. Hope to see you Saturday. Don't miss it. Thank you all very much.
All right, Ralph, thank you very much. Now, Tamara and Tom, Coach, you guys hang around a little bit, and when we come back, let's go through some of these details. And Frank's like the big bad Trump wolf over there, just ready to come and get us. Yeah, you can laugh, Tom. You're comfortable out there at Consumer Credit in your office. I'm sitting 3 feet from the big bad wolf. All right, we're coming back. I'm J. Michael McCoy, if I haven't told you lately. Thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth. The Truth.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs,
And I'm the service manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. All right, 4:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. And then, of course, it's Hank, the Bible Answer Man, at 1-888-ASK-HANK. A worldwide live radio call-in show. That's right. You can call in. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we just live in a good place in Iowa, but whenever you and I call in, and we don't have special lines, we call in just like a normal person driving down the road. They usually get us in. So if you've got a chance to get in the Hank Hanegraaff show today, we'd certainly appreciate and invite you to do so.
Can we say on air that Mr. Deplorable's on the line? Mr. Deplorable Tom Coates. Welcome, Tom. My daughter said, posted on Facebook yesterday, that apparently, now I don't know, I haven't verified this or heard something, but supposedly Facebook is banning the use of the word deplorable on Facebook.
Oh, you're kidding.
Asking you to take it down. She posted something. I didn't look deep into the subject, but if that's the case, is Facebook now running interference for Hillary campaign?
They have been for a while.
They have been.
Hey, let me say one more thing. I came across this while I was waiting. There's a new Rasmussen poll out on this question of immigration that Hillary and Obama want to continue to increase. It shows that only 18% of Americans support bringing 110,000 more Muslim refugees to America, while 62% of the people polled said they oppose that and view it as an increased risk. So I just wanted to throw that in on top of the stuff we talked about last period.
And I hear that Trump is gaining with Latinos because of that issue, because they see the danger of folks coming into this country, competing with them for jobs. But also, Tom, you talked about the cost. You mentioned the $64,000 number for one. I think for a household, it's like $250,000 plus. And also, it's not that we're incompassionate for not bringing them here, But you can do so much more as being good stewards of your money and being compassionate for them by finding a safe area in a country, a neighboring country in the Middle East. That is their culture, but financially, we would save 12 times the money. We could care for 61 people to the one person we bring here for a year, or 12 people for 5 years over there.
Well, Tamara, I think if you combine what you just said, what I was saying about the cost, I think the vast majority of American people already oppose it from the terrorism risk.
Right.
I think it would be a much heavier number if the media would tell them how much it's really costing them.
Right. And Center for Immigration Studies, CIS, is a great place to get some of that information. And I just quickly went through Heritage Foundation and some of the others. If you just put the cost of a refugee, that information will come up to you. And it's extremely, that's not even the food assistance, the food stamps. Some of them get cash assistance. And they'll tell you then that they're self-sustaining, but they're not considering, if they're just off the cash assistance, then they consider them self-sustaining, but they're still on food stamps and they're still getting other help.
Well, Tom, I got to tell you, that's a good point, Mr. Deplorable, because Hillary always mentions in her defense how much the Whitewater investigation cost, and now she's talking about how much the investigation has cost in the Benghazi and the et ceteras to go after her email. So we need to set our hair on fire and tell the American people what it's going to cost to bring all these illegal immigrants into our country.
Yes, that's right.
Tom Coates is on the phone, as he is usually when we talk a little politics. Tamara Scott in studio today. Jebediah producing very, very well today. Frank on the air, not very, very well today. And, of course, Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. And the Service Legend Truth Talk text line at 515-809-0993. It is your voice we want to hear. Studio lines open at 515-244-0077. Frank?
No,
You're always wanting to talk.
I wasn't ready to jump in.
Oh, all right. Tamara Scott, National Republican chairperson, for the state of Iowa. The big Faith and Freedom Coalition event this Saturday night, Iowa State Fairgrounds, 4 o'clock at the Paul Knapp Center. $50 a ticket. Reservations required. Call 225-1515. So what do you think the theme? If we could give this Saturday night a theme. Now, I know the overall theme. You know, the overall theme is to make America great. And Mike Pence, who's running for VP, is coming. Who knows? Maybe even the Trumpster will show up. You're going to be there. Joni is going to be there. Governor Branstad's going to be there.
Lieutenant
Steve
Governor.
Forbes, Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds.
Former Congresswoman Michelle Bach.
Yep. And so what would, as we sit here 100 days from the election?
No.
48.
No,
48, sorry. 48 days from it was 100 days to Christmas. 48 days till the election. What do you think the theme of this Saturday night event ought to be?
Maybe how to make America great. And we're talking about making America great, but we're going to, I think, hear a lot of great ideas on what we need to do. Steve Forbes, of course, we think will talk about money. I don't know. I'm not privy to that information, but I have his book right here in front of me, his latest book on money and how the destruction of the dollar threatens the global economy and what we can do about it. So I think you'll be just so thrilled to hear what he has to say. Michelle Bachmann is going to talk about immigration, the refugee situation, Islam, ISIS a little bit, because if you remember, her specialty was foreign policy and security, national security, and she just had such an incredible insight, so I'll be thrilled to hear her. The one person we haven't mentioned in all of this is Steve Scheffler, who is the president for Iowa, the chair of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, and he's the one who makes so much of this happen, whether it's their house parties in October or this event.
Let me ask Tamara if you have any insight on this. I mean, the Monmouth poll said that potentially Trump is up 8 in Iowa. And the state went for Obama twice. Is Iowa a bellwether in the country? I mean, if Iowa goes for Trump, does that say anything else about what's going to go on in the country, in your opinion?
Well, I think for the caucus, if you just look at this year's caucus, on the Republican side, 17 candidates. That's huge, right?
Really?
And our first two winners were who?
Ted Cruz.
And did Trump come in second?
Trump came in second.
Yeah.
And at the very end of the primary, who were the winners? It reversed.
Yeah.
It was Trump, Cruz. So it was really a pretty great indication on how the rest of the nation was going. We were pretty accurate in what we came out here in Iowa with 17 in the race.
But I think a real case can be made that had the flap with Ben Carson not came up, they said about 2 votes per precinct, Trump would have won Iowa. You know, when Ted Cruz and CNN and Rubio had colluded to badmouth Ben Carson for wanting to take a respite home.
Right.
And that was done during the caucuses, and so...
So you're saying that would have helped Trump or hurt Trump?
It possibly would have swung the primary or the caucus in Iowa for Trump.
I don't know how that would help if that, because people feel like it hurt Carson.
Well, they felt like that them saying that those votes of Carson's was going to Cruz. And that potentially that would have been, that Cruz would have been the benefactor of that, which would have hurt Trump.
Oh,
There's been a case made for that.
I see what you're saying. And then Trump might have won had Cruz not pulled in those votes from Carson.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying.
Can I ask before we get off the air, Tamara, how do you handle? We've had some on the show, some of these never Trumpers. How do you deal with these people?
When are we going to break? How much time do I have?
You have 1.5 minutes, or you'll have 4.5 minutes, and we'll come back with 8 minutes left.
Okay. Well, here's the deal, Tom. To me, and some of these are my friends, and so I want to be very careful, and I love them dearly, though we don't agree. Some of them are truly working it through, and for that, we understand they've got to pray it through. We expect everybody to meet with the Lord and pray it through and figure out what they're going to do. For some of these other folks, Tom, I have 5 reasons. One is that it's arrogance, that if they were active in another campaign, and if they got a position tomorrow with Trump, they'd be on board. So it's not their principle, they're pandering for position. The other one is pride. They just can't believe that their candidate was chosen. They were loyal to a candidate, they'd hooked into a candidate, and they're being stiff-necked and just can't step away from that candidate. The other is religiosity. You see this with some of them. They're on their holy high horse, and there's not a thing that a Trump is going to do that's ever going to be good enough. And then the other is animosity. They would rather see us be destroyed as a nation than restored. They've got the Jonah under the bush, and they'd rather see Nineveh just destroyed than have us have a chance to repent, which I don't find the biblical text. I just don't see the biblical answer there. And the final is the fear. Those are the ones I mentioned first. Here's the deal. God used imperfect people. He used them as apostles. And if he could suffer Peter, we can suffer an imperfect president.
Okay, we're coming back 2 minutes, and we're coming back. It's your voice I want to hear. 515-244-0077. Live here in Mac's World on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. And then, of course, Hank, the Bible Answer Man at 1-888-ASK-HANK. Yes, you can call in on a national call-in show with your Bible question. That question that you're oh, come on, let's face it, you're embarrassed to ask your pastor because he may laugh in your face. He wouldn't. She wouldn't. But I get it. I go up to pastors sometime and I ask a question. I just asked Ryan Jorgensen from Harvest Bible Chapel. I asked him a biblical theological question today. And he looked at me kind of like Picasso does. He turns his head to his right, and then he turns his head to his left and goes, I know he learned it from Scooby-Doo. So here's a way you could ask a Bible question to Hank the Bible Answer Man at 1-888-ASK-HANK, and you don't have to be embarrassed. For instance, one of your questions could be, in heaven, will Tom Coates really be a prophet standing next to Isaiah? I vote yes.
I liked your question about Lucifer better. I was driving down the road and I heard this cranky old buzzard call in to Hank, and darned if he didn't ask him about Lucifer getting forgiven.
Well, I know there's a lot of people out there that are kind of upset with me on this because it's not in the Bible, so therefore they think I'm being silly. I just believe in an amazing, almighty, powerful God, and we need a revival in this world. What is it, 6 billion people on the planet?
Almost 7.
300 million in America? 300 million in America. What if every one of those 300 America tomorrow turned to Jesus Christ? Be great, but it's almost impossible. What if just one turned to Jesus Christ? And that would be the accuser himself. I know the Bible says he gets thrown into a lake of fire and he's gone. And I know. I'm not doubting the Bible. Please don't think I'm being rude or blasphemous. Maybe I'm just hoping. Maybe I'm just praying that the accuser, after all these years, will understand that he will burn and burn and burn and burn, and that burning will never stop. He could turn, repent, and ask his Creator for forgiveness. Impossible? Improbable? I can tell you it's not biblical. So I'll just keep hoping for that kind of revival, one soul at a time. 4:53, Tom's on the phone. I want to ask Tamara, Scott, and then I also want to hear from Tom also. The Never Trump crowd, are they going to kill us?
They're diminishing. I think that they are diminishing in numbers more and more. You heard, was it Ralph just said 78% are coming around, evangelicals. But, and I don't mean to, I was talking so quickly because we were going to break, and it is a heavy decision for some folks, but for others, it is a prideful issue. It is a stiff-necked issue, and just as we have in Washington, you have alliances, and some of these folks have worked for PACs or are getting money from PACs, and you have to look behind the scenes of what may be happening and ask yourself why. And so you just have to pray this through. But listen to me. I'm serious when I say God used imperfect people as apostles. Peter, he said, on this rock I'll build my church. And yet Jesus had to say, get behind me, Satan. Peter was imperfect. And how should we expect to have a perfect president for 4 years or 8 years when God used imperfect people? And my concern is you're going to be so picky, picking apart a Peter, we're going to end up with Judas. And Judas will destroy our nation. And if we've heard about the criticalness of every election, but we lose this one, I don't know if we get her back. Because by the time we get the courts back 50 years from now, we will not recognize the country we once knew.
I mean, 50 years from now, Tom Coates will be 150 years old. I mean, he won't be around to vote for the next Republican. Frank?
I think the closer we get, as the days tick by, it gets down to 30 days, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I think people are going to start really taking stock and inventory in why they may sit home or not vote right. I think you'll see those people swing to Trump.
And some of these never-Trumpers are saying they're going to vote for a Johnson. How is it immoral to vote for a Trump who has said the very same things that are in our conservative Republican platform, pro-life issues, judges, the border? So it's immoral to vote for him, but it would be moral to vote for somebody because they might lose. Your actions are based on your actions, not on the results of some race.
I'm hearing that there's more that the Johnson vote is hurting Hillary more than Trump, is what I've been hearing.
It would make
That's
sense.
what I keep seeing, yeah, man. And you know, they relate to him. He's a dope smoker. So why wouldn't these disaffected Hillary types relate to him more than the conservatives?
Here's what I've been praying for years now, for every election for the last 25, 20 years, that truth would be revealed and falsehoods would be exposed. The backroom dealings, smoke-filled rooms, those dealings would be exposed. And I think we're seeing it, whether it's the media being exposed for who they are, the Republicans who refuse to come along because they have alliances and allegiances. They're more concerned about their invitation to the White House than who's in the White House. Or it's what's happening behind the Hillary campaign. She can't keep the truth from oozing out.
And if anything, even his people, his detractors are saying, well, at least Trump has thrown open the curtain and is showing how the sausage is made in both parties. And so at least even the ones that aren't going to vote for him have at least acknowledged and admitted that he's done something good, because there's a lot of stink and corruption in D.C. that needs to be dealt with. And I think
look at Hillary's response the other day, guys, to the terrorism. She wouldn't even still name it, but she was not hesitant to step up and call what happened in North Carolina a racist event. She was happy to jump on that with both feet, but was very hesitant to name, again, Muslim Islamic terrorism again.
Well, and let's just assume for a minute. Let's go to one of my favorite Macisms. Never assume malice when incompetence will suffice. I think Hillary Clinton is incompetent. I really don't think she understands that on this hand she's being a racist, and on this hand she's being anti-American and not truthful with the country.
I would trump you incompetent with conniving.
Conniving, okay?
And when you're that conniving, truth has no... Her conscience is so seared, truth has no reality.
I don't think there is a conscience.
She don't recall that.
No.
I can't recall.
Tamara, you want to know something weird? So here I sit in the middle here, and Frank and Tom have both been on the radio with me for years. And I remember when they first got together and started on the radio. I mean, I'm just going to tell you the secret. Tom hated Frank. I mean, just thought he was a bonehead.
Tom, I growed on you, didn't I, buddy?
Now the two of them are best buddies. They can do. The other day they did a show called Tom's World, and Frank didn't back me up.
Go get your fungus bacterial serum there, Tom.
That's right. grew on me like a fungus. That's right.
That's right.
All right, Tom. We will be taking next Tuesday off, but I look forward to seeing you there the first week of October. And thank you very much for being a part of the show today. As always, I love you, brother, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye, Tom. Tamara, thank you for getting Ralph Reed on. You're always welcome. Your show, Truth for Our Time, high noon on Sundays, right after we get out of church. Because you know what? Tamara's going to grow on you. All right, we're out of here. Hank is next. Remember, I ask you, do it. Take that resentment, that 2 billion pound rock you're hauling around, and just forgive him. Gosh darn it, just forgive him. Because it's as you forgive, that's how Jesus will forgive you. We're coming back live on The Truth. I'll see you at church.